Gunner from Caroma. And Morel tees up a last-minute Hackett header. A fantastic game with a lot of character shown at Fratton Park yesterday. Peterborough have now lost 4 league games on the spin following a 1-0 defeat away at Bolton. There was a 9-goal thriller at the Memorial Stadium. Burton won their first game of the season. Oxford lost another home match. And how telling is it that the top 4 teams playing against each other resulted in 2 sets of 2-2 draws? And following all of those games a point apiece makes our trip to Ipswich in 2 weeks' time just that little bit more interesting. Join us tonight at a slightly earlier time where we will review all the action from Burton midweek, Plymouth at the weekend, alongside a brief look ahead to the prospects for the next month or so for Pompey, including our trip to East Anglia in a couple of weeks' time. All right, here on 4-0 Sunday Live. A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along. It is lovely to have your company, as always. We are here at the slightly earlier time of 6 o'clock this evening. Welcome along to the 8th edition of 4-0 Sunday Live. Back after all the games were postponed last weekend to pay respects to Her Majesty the Queen, which we'll be mentioning later on. The branding of tonight's stream, you might have noticed, is part of the way in which we'll be paying our respects this evening. Also, as a result, we are at a slightly earlier time due to the minute silence at 8 o'clock, which we very much want to be off air for. Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome along. How are we all doing? Nice to see you all. I think that might have been Retro making noises in the background. But Brendan and Mike join us all the way from sunny Portchester. Gaz joins us all the way from Malta. Aaron, I had written down that you join us all the way from your fish tank, but you haven't, so you've let me down. But that's that's all right. And is it? And Pepe joins us all the way from
my fish tank at the moment is the same colour as my wall because I'm treating it, and I didn't really want to show everyone as I'm treating the water. So
you don't want to show your secrets, mate. I understand. That's not a problem at all. Welcome to Pepe, who joins us from the Portsmouth. He's not at the Portsmouth News Desk, but he is usually at the Portsmouth News Desk. Gaz, how's your Sunday been?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, obviously, I always say that the weather's nice here, so yeah, it's been good. Yeah, but I got a new PS4 game, the old Formula 1, so I've been playing that today. So I watched the highlights this morning from yesterday, and I've been on the PlayStation this morning. That's what you do when you're 49 years old, you know what I mean? Midlife crisis.
Absolutely. Brendan, Mike, how are we feeling after yesterday?
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, good day yesterday. Obviously, shame we didn't get the 3 points, but all in all, good performance from the Blues. And good day today as well so far. Yourself there?
Yeah, a bit chilling out day today, really. Yeah, it was great down at the park yesterday, basking in the sunshine, watching the goals go in. Yeah, for both sides, I know. But yeah, today's chilling out day. The sun's still shining, and we're here talking to you guys.
Pepe, how did it look from the press box?
Well, actually, I wasn't in the press box yesterday. It was the first game of the season that I watched as a fan, so it was great to be in the stands, and yeah, it was a great win, to be honest. Lovely day today as well, and a lovely weekend. So yeah, lovely.
Absolutely. Good evening to Jake, who said, evening, Thomas. Still don't have a voice after a 6-star showing yesterday. We're going to be chatting about that. Jack's been waiting for this all day. Nice to have you. I think we'll all do a rendition of the chant to end the show tonight. There we go, because it's excellent. Good evening from this Andrew. Hello, you, Andrew. I think that's a Porsche hat and a rifle he's got in his profile picture. So each their own. Hope you're having a lovely time. I'm sure you're not dressed in that attire watching this. And Dilla said best way after finishing work to watch a bit of 4-0. There we go. Thank you very much. And Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't got a game this weekend, so he's in the chat. He's joined us. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And Chloe, who I think, where's Chloe gone? Chloe might be a bit of a lady friend of Pepe. She said, "Go Pepe." Joel had said, "Can we please take a 2-goal lead more?" And we'll come on to what Jesse said in a little bit of a second or two, because we've got a packed show this evening, ladies and gents. So much to get our teeth into, and Aaron's dog started already. Really looking forward to your company over the next hour. Also, remember, we are live, so you can join us via the live chat. Get your comments in. Let us know how you felt. Initially, we're going to chat Burton Albion, so let's get into that now. If you would agree, disagree, or somewhere in between with anything that's said, then let us know down below. Let's crack straight on and cast our minds back to Burton Albion, and let's see how it played out in numbers form. Pompey dropped to Staffordshire and dominated possession, more shots and far more accurate passes too. You can see there plotted out where all the shots came on Tuesday night. One of which was an own goal, of course the other flicked on superbly by the man with the magic hat, which pretty much the entire team registered a statistically spot-on performance in the green, and we'll come back to player ratings in a little while. It is one of those games, Gaz, that I'll look back on with very fond memories for a long time to come. Such an enjoyable night spent with some close friends that I don't get to see very often too. On the pitch, though, relatively slow start to proceedings in the first half, having started the 15 minutes pretty well. I felt like we unlocked a gear when we scored. And Retro's here. There we go. Let's welcome Retro in. Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I feel like we unlocked another gear, Gaz, on Tuesday night. Once we'd scored and played with a little bit more fluidity. How did you see it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, obviously we were calm and composure for a little bit, and then obviously once that first goal goes in, then we start playing with a bit more freedom. So yeah, it was a must win really, because they're the games that we have to win. Bottom of the league, they're not doing very well, and we have to get 3 points. I mean, we'll talk about the game. Obviously, that happened yesterday. Obviously, yeah, we got a draw, but the bottom of the league, bottom of half the table, we have to pick up points. And obviously, yeah, we made it hard work for a little bit, but then once we scored, we started, let's say, a bit more freedom, and then we started, expressing ourselves, shall we say, and then eventually we won 2-0. So yeah, I was very happy with that. What did
you make of the game, Aaron? What were your reflections?
Yeah, you just see the players have actually stepped up a level once that goal went in. Like all season so far, all 9 games, with every single game slow start, even in the cup games as well. I'm not really too worried, because the other week when we went 1 down, then we just stepped up. But yeah, I'm very impressed with the players and everything, but it's starting to get a little bit leggy at times.
Yeah, especially we saw that a little bit yesterday, didn't we? Which we'll come on to. Sean, I know you were watching because you've been blessed with a special follow pass miraculously. We'll maybe not mention that on the stream. What did you think against a Burton Albion side that, although hadn't won a game when we played them, I know they have already now. On yesterday, they won their first game, but it was never going to be a walkover, and so it proved.
Yeah, exactly. They're a banana skin for us, or potential banana skin. They've been very unlucky in the games they've had so far this season. They should have potentially picked up points before us. And, it was one of those games that was a must win. I think, like everyone has said so far, that the boys dug out and ground out a result. And I think it took a lot of effort. And I think towards the latter part of the Plymouth game, you could see that the boys were spent. They'd put everything into this week. And actually the 2 weeks off now is good.
Absolutely. Brendan, Mike, I'm assuming you would have been watching, or you may have seen the highlights, etc., etc. I mean, it's a great flick on from Colby, and we'll have a little look back and reminisce the moment together. But I know that this first one here is a bit of a, it's as a result of a lot of pressure, isn't it? And I think it was coming. The second one, which we're about to see after we've all gone absolutely mental, is much more of a refined and takes a lot of character to finish that one, and a lot of confidence as well from Colby.
Yeah, the first goal that was deflected in by their defender, I appreciate it, but it seems as though teams, from what I've been seeing, and I've been watching the EFL programs on, as though sometimes it's not a case of trying to shoot at the goal; it's to shoot at defenders and get the deflection and into the goal. So. Yeah. Oh, all right. We had one yesterday where Raggett did the header trying to defend her and it went in. But these things that hopefully they will equal out over the season, and I think some teams are actually playing for those deflected goals. As far as our performance, a bit lackluster, as you say, until we got to the goal, and then picked it up and stepped up a bit more and went into our third or fourth gear. I still don't think we're firing correctly at the moment, but I was impressed with the latter part of the game. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned third or fourth gear there. 'Cause we're going to listen to something that Danny said after the game, which I thought was really interesting about, and maybe it gives us a little bit of an inkling into the reason why we are a second half team. Take a listen to this.
It's very hard to find rhythm here against Burton. They take their right back takes France from both sides of the pitch. You can never quite get the ball on the pitch. So it was tough, and we were a bit frustrated at half time. But we were able to keep our emotional control, make a few tweaks, and we come out second half. And we also knew that they would over try in the first half and play with that incredible energy and intensity that they did. But we knew that would drop, and when it did, we would be able to find a moment extra and then find the space, and then hope to exploit the space, which we were able to.
It's quite smart thinking, isn't it, Gaz? I mean, it's really interesting to hear him say that, because you would imagine, and so far that's really been something that he's kept close to his chest, kind of the tactical way that the game might have changed at half time. Do you think that is really what he was saying? And do you think he's going, look, boys, this was the game plan. We knew they would come at us. Now we've got this second half to go and outperform them.
Yeah, I mean, Danny wears Pompey on his sleeve at the moment, isn't he? I mean, everything he says is what we're all thinking as well. Like, I know, we were in Spain and we actually heard him dictating the play. It was so vocal, wasn't it? Because we were so close to him, we could actually hear what he was saying. So yeah, what Danny says is 100% true. Yeah, always.
And Sean, that did give us a little insight into kind of what he was thinking at half time, and the fact that he can be so open with his game plan post match, and he can say it with his chest. We knew that. I think the words were what did he say? We knew they'd tire, something along those lines.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And away from home, absorbing the pressure is always the way. Get established in the game, get the crowd on their backs and turning it, and you can see how Cowley's using that to his advantage, and he's got the players who can do it.
One of the main reasons why Pepe Lacey sat here is because he wrote a fantastic article. It's not the only reason, obviously. We love your company, Pepe, and thanks for spending some time with us. But there was a wonderful moment, a heartwarming story by your good self, written in the Portsmouth News. A fantastic pre-assist from a young man in the crowd. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so if anybody wasn't aware, before the opener, Marlon Pack, before his throw-in, he had a little ball boy in the crowd, a young Pompey fan, wiped the ball down for him. His name was Oscar Woodley. He's 9 and he has autism. And it's a lovely moment where he wiped the ball down, and obviously which then played a part in Marlon Pack's cross, which led to the goal. And then Marlon Pack obviously went over and celebrated with the young boy, Oscar. And it was just such an amazing story to write. I spoke to his dad, Paul, and he just couldn't believe what had happened when he got home. So obviously they drove back after the game and sort of got into bed and then saw everything go off on social media. And it was just such an amazing story. And he said, because he's got autism, he's not really that popular at school. And he had Pompey fans coming up to him saying, he said he felt like the most popular kid in Portsmouth. And it was just such an amazing thing to say, something so little that Marlon Pack could do has literally made this kid's night, his week, his month, his year, or whatever. He'll always remember that. And it's just such an amazing story. And there was quite a lot more to it as well, because the Burton Ball boys, because obviously Burton kicked down that way in the first half, they had the towels already prepared, but they tried to hide the towels from Marlon Pack in the second half. So one of the Pompey coaching staff came down, nicked this towel, and Marlon Pack came over and said, "Can you have the towel? Can he hold the towel?" To Oscar. And then the stewards started to get involved and say, "Look, you can't hold the towel." And it sort of got a bit out of hand by the sounds of it. And it's just like he's not doing anything other than hold the towel. And then luckily he kept hold of it. And then just something so memorable is made his week. And it's just such an amazing story and really shows the connection between the players and the fans at the moment. And the whole club in general is just such a positive place to be. I know Max, the Pompey admin, he puts a lot of good clips out at the moment. And then you saw Nikki Cowley after the game as well, really connecting with the fans. So it's just a really positive place to be at the moment, Pompey. And that was just one of the nicest stories to write, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're gonna talk about the Nikki punch in a minute. We are gonna rewatch it. I know everyone will be asking for it, and we're gonna put it on. Brendan and Mike, I think that really, I mean, that's a great example, isn't it? That story of the connect at the football club between the fans and the players, and we see it week in, week out in that fan zone behind Fratton Park, don't we? And that's something that the club have put on in the last couple of weeks to rile us up a little bit, and it feels like Oscar with the ball, Max on the camera, Nikki with a punch, everything's, and the players on the pitch, everything's pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely see it. Even like seeing the players before the game and after the game, they're all happy and engaging with the fans, and and as you say, Nikki with his punch at full time, is like Jurgen Klopp-esque, but obviously Nikki Cowley does it a lot better, and he's a lot better looking, in my opinion. And I'd say Max has done a brilliant job. I think that some of the posts he put out, and his engagement back with the fans as well, just through that, like the fact, like he done the hobby in the community with all the fruit, and they said, what players do you want to see next? And then everyone put their comments who they wanted to see, and then he'd retweet it and stuff like that. And yeah, and just what I liked the most was yesterday was waiting before as the players turned up at the ground in the Tesco car park, was the way Danny interacted with the younger kids. It's sort of standing back and watching him. It had that feeling like he knows and he works well with the kids. And you see him in the warm up when the kids are doing the little rondo around him, which is brilliant to see as well. And the players are playing well on the pitch. If we weren't playing the way we are on the pitch, I don't think we'd have this. It wouldn't connect all together. It would be one cog missing from it. So I'm glad it's going well.
I just did put a point. I was lucky enough to be invited to spend the photographic day with the team, and went down to the training ground and went round the training ground in various places, and even had a debrief about I think it was the Burton game. Yeah, I think it was the game, the Saturday game away, the Port Vale game. And Danny gave us the debrief, which he gave the players only half an hour beforehand. So the 20 of us that were on that group for the day actually sat in the room. Danny was sat in front of the PowerPoint, and it was absolutely amazing. I got some lovely pictures of when he was doing it. And throughout our time that we were there, before we went down to the ground, had lunch, and then had our photos taken with the team all lined up, which you'll see, I'm sure, coming forward soon, is that I asked if we could take any pictures. Can we use our phones on our camera? He said, look, I've got nothing to hide. You take whatever pictures you want. And I actually took pictures of the stats board as he was delivering it, and others were, and there was no problem with that. He says, I've got nothing to hide. And that is such a breath of fresh air from what we had to endure for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was. The club media has turned around. I've told Andrew Cullen the other day, I said the media at the club has turned around 180%, and it's now running properly. We see these videos like you're talking about at the moment about the pitch and this, that, and the other community stuff. It is a lovely breath of fresh air. And we said when we were doing the North working group, the North West working group, communications of how you put it across to the fans is the biggest thing that you might need to improve. And I tell you what, they've gone and done it. They are amazing now.
Absolutely. Good evening to Scott on Wander's World. I don't know if it's Scott or Wander that's left this comment, but good evening to both of you. It said, recently found to a channel. Always good to see Pompey represented on YouTube. Play at Pompey. We're here every Sunday night as often as we can, Scott and Wander, whether it's Wander or Scott. We're here always. So thank you for that. And Cristiano Ronaldo parting with a little bit of cash that I know he's got plenty of. So thank you for that. He said, Ipswich predictions, massive game. If you hold on for 45 minutes or so, we will be chatting all about Ipswich. We might even have a special guest that you recognise join us here as well. So stick around for that. Right, let's and everyone's got a lovely smile on their face about that. Well, let's, as promised, let's show you the Nikki Cowley fist bump, and I think it's a moment that I know we're speaking about Oscar, a moment that he will never forget. This is a moment that Pompey fans present and also people watching on social media won't forget. The sound needs to be turned up loud for this one, everybody. Here we go.
They're waiting, Nikki. You want one? Yes. Come on, man.
I
don't know what I
want one
like.
indeed.
Exactly. Exactly. I was about to say I don't know what I like more, the actual punch or the words spoken. You want one then? Come on in. And it's just like, go on, Nicky, my son. And I asked you this to Aaron. I know you love that clip, and we've in the chat we've been speaking about it over the last couple of days, and it's just great, isn't it? And I think it's probably a combination, a lovely run of form, good performances from the boys, long old way on a Tuesday night, thanking the travelling support, all rolled into one punch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we got to remember Nikki's involved as well, because at the forefront it's always Danny. Danny does interviews. Danny's on the pitch. He's doing this left, right, and centre.
And he's at the wheel.
He's at the wheel. He's definitely at the wheel. He's now driving the bus. So it's but with Nikki, he's his assistant and everything, and we don't talk about him as much as we should, because he's sensational as well. Both of them know Portsmouth. They get it. They get our fans. They get the team. And I think they're loving every minute. Their wives are loving it. Their families are loving it. Everything about them is just tremendous. Before them two actually went to Lincoln, there was talk about them two coming to Portsmouth. And I always wanted them to come to Portsmouth before they get to Lincoln. But it was just, amazing. Absolutely amazing that they're here now. And you can see they love the club. And there's talk about Danny being nicked off us to another club, but he's turned around and said, no, I haven't finished what I've started here. So, but both of them, credit to both of them. Breath of fresh air, like Mike said.
Sean, do you think they might ever be tempted away? I know we don't know, and that's very cynical of me to say, and absolutely no one wants that to happen here at Pompey. We know that. However, we don't know the full extent of their contracts, do we? And that was something that was obviously kept under wraps for a reason. They're obviously going to see the season through, and it would have to take something ludicrous to take that away from them. And then you wouldn't be surprised if they stayed on into the Championship if that is our destiny.
I think that it strikes me that they've got a project that they want to see through, and we are that project, fortunately. I think you can never say never. Everyone's got a price, depending on the size of the club that comes in for them. But it reminds me of Harry and Jim. It's just the double act, the way they work together. And I think they genuinely think they can build something here, probably because the club's got a bigger fan base than it was Lincoln, so they can take us further. And I think, it just, their attitude, the way they're controlling everything and bringing the players on, I think they're building something here, and it would take something very special to take them away from us, I think. I think we're very fortunate to have them, and I'd like to see them signed up for longer.
Absolutely. Just quickly, we'll take a moment to pause. There's obviously less of you than would normally join us because we're an hour earlier for very good reason, as there is a national minute silence at 8 o'clock, and I didn't want to overrun because I know these gentlemen love talking about Pompey. There's a very good chance that we would overrun, so we're going to give ourselves plenty of time to get off air nice and early before the 8 o'clock minute silence. There is still 86 of you that join us across YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you leave the stream a like. Thank you for being with us this evening. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to speak to a Plymouth fan a little bit later on. Brendan will be pleased to know that it's not the guy that he spoke to yesterday, or one of the guys that he spoke to yesterday. It's a friend of mine, Archie, who's just got a job at the BBC, so hopefully he will be able to provide us with a little bit of more insight than other chaps might have wanted to.
Tom,
yes.
Tom, I've got a copy of the newspaper from the weekend, and can I quote what they've written? Actually, is a quote from Danny. It says, "For us, it's speculation about going elsewhere. It's something we've lived before, so it's fine. It's about the players. I don't want to take all the criticism when it doesn't go well, so I definitely should take all of the praise when it does." And he's talking about the Pompey boss signed a new long-term contract last year, and it feels it's still early days on his future at Fratton Park tenure, with a lot of work still to do. And that's a direct quote from the news. So I think he's signed a 3-year contract. I don't know what it is, but I imagine it would be.
Was that written by Pepe Lacey by any chance?
No, it's Brendan's friend Jordan.
Jordan Cross. Oh my God.
Is there any more you can tell us on that one, Pepe?
No, that's what's being talked about, and that's what Geordie obviously reported, was that it is a long-term contract. There's no details as to how long it is. No one actually does know. The club have, like you said, kept under wraps. So it's a long-term contract. We don't know how long, but yeah, I don't think there's any need to be worried at the moment. I don't think.
And Gaz, I think the Nikki Cowley fist bump probably speaks louder than any words that can be said, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, not only that, it's just how he, he gets into the, the community. Not only like the youngsters and the girls teams. It's everything about Portsmouth. Danny and Nikki are at the wheel. I know we talk about Danny because he's obviously the forefront of the the management, but Nikki, we always look for Nikki after the game as well. So he loves it. He loves everything about Portsmouth. So I think we're really blessed. If you look at all the managers in League One, we got a characters of Nikki and Danny. They're jealous. We ain't got a Joey Barton, thank God. We've got Nikki and Danny. So we're getting out.
Can I just say, Gaz, how boring would it be with Kieran McKenna in charge? I'm not being funny.
God. Like my ex-mistress. You know what I mean?
Did you hear what he was doing yesterday? Did you hear what Danny was doing?
Oh, Danny.
When they were having that water break, he was actually standing over to the other touchline, listening to the instructions of their manager. And then he actually got found out and everything. That was reported as well. But I didn't know if anyone else heard that.
What was the yellow card for?
Yeah, I was about to say, what was the? Does anyone know what it was for?
Yeah, I think because I was on the other side of the pitch, but I think Pompey didn't get a decision, or they got a decision for like the first time in the afternoon, and I saw he go he went like that, and he was like, he turned around, does what he usually does, and then all of a sudden you see the referee go, no, it's just a talking to, and he pulls out a yellow card, which is a bit surprising, but all of that was a bit of too much. But yeah.
From what I think I remember was, I think there was 2 fouls that weren't given, and then he gave the third one. It's like, well, what becomes the other 2? And that's why he had to go at the fourth official, I think, or the referee, and obviously spoke out of turn, and then obviously got his yellow, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah,
I think it was the fourth official.
Yeah. Ginger bloke.
Yes, he's called Alan Young, and we've had him before. I remember we had him against Fleetwood in the COVID games. He had an absolute mare. And I think it's always telling, whenever a referee has to go over and book a manager on the touchline, they've lost control completely. Yeah. They've got no command over the game whatsoever. So I think Alan Young and Gavin Ward, you can stick in the same boat. They are, two that we aren't particularly happy about. I thought we were going to have a drama-free show tonight, but the door is ringing round the corner. So I'm going to have to go and sort that out because it's probably a takeaway that I haven't ordered. But, it's a bit early as well, 6:30. What we're going to leave you on, though, is the player ratings from the Burton game, which is kind of what we're talking about. I know we've headed into a little bit of Danny and Nikki chat. But this makes for good reading, actually. And I'm going to take myself over here and put someone else up there. Oh, there we go. It's Gaz. Lovely. Gaz, you can kick us off then. I know you're the player ratings guru. Obviously, Dane Scarlett's a little bit lower. And I think that's because we should point out that Dane Scarlett's goal that was given as a foul won't go down in the stats, which might have brought that up a little bit further, perhaps as a big chance that he would have got. What are your thoughts? Everyone else bar him is in the green, which is a good sign, and a man of the match performance for Owen Dale, which deserves a massive mention.
What's this? This for the
this is Burton, mate. Yeah, Burton
game. Yeah. I mean, Owen Dale definitely man of the match for me. I mean, even at his heat map, he was all over the place. Packed around the midfield. Scarlett was a little bit unfortunate. And the thing with Bishop at the moment, even though he's up front, he's actually more or less dropping into midfield a little bit to help the midfield, and obviously supported Scarlett. In that front, is a false 9 or a 10 or something. I mean, Sean's very good with his fake 10 or a fake 9. But yeah, I mean, overall, to get these player ratings into 7, they're very strict. I think some of these websites, so to see players into 7s, that's very good. It's a bit unfortunate with Scarlett at the moment as a 6, but yeah, at the moment, that looks good for me. I mean, Griffiths, at the moment, it's unfortunate at the weekend. They could have got that one of them goals, but yeah. What do you think, Sean? Do you reckon that's ideal?
I think the stats are a fair reflection of what was done. Apart from the Dane Scarlett, I think he's harshly done for the foul. But we saw it transpires that what the game was, the threat was Dale. He was down that right wing. He was cutting across. He was even going across to the left side occasionally.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
getting balls from Curtis. He was doing a lot. And like you say, Colby was dropping into the sort of advanced midfield, just picking up the passes from Pack and doing a lot of creation that way as well. So, it's, I think it's a good, solid team performance. And I think that stat for Dane Scarlett's a bit unfair.
I don't know if anyone else wanted to chip in. I was listening to Gaz and Sean. Pepe, did you have I know you're a bit of a player ratings guru. You love a bit of player ratings.
Yeah, I love the player ratings. Yeah, I think just going over the Burton and Ipswich game, I think Owen Dale's really sort of come to light now. I think those two games, the last two games, I know we're talking about Burton, but the two, he's just come into his own really. And it sort of took him a while to come in. But now I think we're seeing the best of him. I saw a really good tweet the other day. Although he's only scored one and he's not really a goal scorer. He's that winger Pompey have needed for so long. A player with pace, a player who brings skill. It's just someone creative. Obviously, Marcus Harness got the goals, but he wasn't as creative as Owen Dale. And I think you can look at it two ways. You can either have someone who provides the goals, and luckily Colby Bishop and Dane Scarlett scoring those goals, and you can have someone who does. But I think he is the player that's really stepped up the last two games. He's been probably both of the man of the match for both the games, I think. But I think credit for Clark Robertson as well, coming in at left back, and he's not really put a foot wrong either. He's looked really solid, and like I said, I don't think he's put a foot wrong. But when Joe Rafferty comes back, who do you then take out of the defence? I know I can see a few comments on the side, but what do you do?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Pepe, because I was literally, it's almost like we planned it. I was literally just about to mention, we've had a bit of player ratings discussion. We've also got a live poll going in the chat below, which I'd love you to get involved with tonight. And we're going to ask the panel a little bit later on. It's a question that I've seen a lot scrolling through Twitter or whatever discussion over socials this weekend, which I think, as you said, it's been amplified by the absence of Joe Rafferty in the last week and the switch around at the back four. The question is, who is your centre-back pairing? Is it Morrison or Robertson? Morrison and Robertson, Morrison and Raggett, or Robertson and Raggett? So we'd love to know your thoughts on this. It is a topic that we're going to discuss towards the ending moments of the show. As I say, that Gaz has headed off, but he's probably gone to quickly vote on the poll and then come back, I would imagine is what Gaz is doing. So there we go. And Gaz has done that, and I think he's coming back in now. There we go. So there we go. Very quick vote, and then he's back. Lovely. So what we're going to do now, we're going to let you guys go and vote on the poll, and we will discuss that later on. But what we will do before we go on to speak about Plymouth yesterday is we will we'll have a look at the run of games that Pompey have got coming up over the next couple of weeks. With that. Very busy October, however. It all kicks off with a tricky trip to Suffolk for our Ipswich away day. Midweek Papa John's paint pot action is then followed by Fleetwood's trip to Fratton. And Monday Night Football the following week comes from the Valley. Pompey in action in South East London for the first time since September last year. Forest Green Rovers is one that I'm sure a lot of us are looking forward to ticking off too. The month is rounded off with a Fratton double header. Oxford head down to us on the 25th of October. That was a Tuesday night. And Steve Cottrell, Shrewsbury Town, make the trip down to the South Coast 5 days later that weekend. Right, so let's have a look at then some of the stats and statistics from the Plymouth game. We'll have a look at some player ratings, of course. It's always difficult to know where to start with this, Brendan and Mike. So many contentious moments yesterday. A game with plenty of fight and battle in it. Some really good football played from both sides. What did you make of it?
Well, yeah, I thought, all in all, I think at half time, I think we maybe should have been three or four up. I think we had plenty of chances. Obviously, Hardy had put the ball in the back of the net, which was luckily enough ruled off for offside. And then at the other end, just before half time, we had Scarlett going through, and then that defender come out of nowhere and hooked it away from his feet as he was about to shoot. And then just after that, you had 3-on-2, wasn't it? Bishop, Scarlett, and Dale all running at goal, and it was like, come on, it's 3-on-2, guys, you've got to put the ball in the net. And unfortunately, we couldn't get that pass off to get it. And from our vantage point where we sit, basically on the edge of the 18-yard box at the Fratton end, it definitely crossed the line, and there was a handball in there, but in the same sort of action. So the referee and the line have dropped one there, and they're definitely denied us of a penalty, and obviously if not given us a penalty, we should have had the ball in the net.
Yeah, definitely over the line. It was interesting watching, as I say, the EFL program earlier, and they have goal line technology in the Championship. Well, this 21st century now, we must have goal line. I mean, it means so much to even the small clubs or the lower clubs, whatever you want to call the lower leagues. But being denied a goal, which could mean a substantial amount of money being lost or being won, depending on what side you're on, we must have this goal line technology. As the team, I thought we played better starting than what we have done for the last couple of games before it. There was certainly, as Danny said, once we'd settled, or one of the lads said, I think, as soon as we got comfortable, we linked up. The play was superb. There was plenty of possession. I wouldn't say we were running circles around, but we had control of that game for a lot of that game, except for maybe the 20 minutes in the second half. So,
Sean, I was going to mention this one to you because it reminded me of you. Travelled all the way from Exeter, the nicest side of Devon, to watch the game play at Pompey. And Sean normally travels from probably the nicest side of Plymouth, is a good way to put it. I wanted to mention a young man by the name of Dane Scarlett to you, Sean, and it's very easy to forget that he's only 18 years of age, isn't it? And I mean, work rate, constantly harassing defenders, bags of energy. The young man really sets a standard for those around him, doesn't he?
He does. He reminds me of a young Yakubu. You know, when you see him with his physical strength, his physicality, the way he cuts in, and the pace on that man, you know, and his control and his touch. Occasionally, he takes it too far, does one touch too many, but he's learning all the time. And at 18, doing what he's doing now, the future is bright for that man. You know, I'm excited he's with us. It's a shame he's not with us permanently.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sam said it at halftime on yesterday's video, actually, Aaron, which it's gone down really well, by the way. So thank you for your support on that, and loads of lovely comments. So including yours, Aaron, I very much appreciated that. So thank you. Particularly first half, although there were moments of it in the second half, we looked like we were going to score every time we were on the attack. How pleased are you with that? Very pleased, because when we do get the ball, 9 times out of 10 we do score, unlike previous seasons. But you were just wishing that ball would go past that line, even though it did, and it was called off. So yeah, definitely, League One definitely needs goal line technology. But yeah, it's so nice to actually have all our players able to score on the pitch. Doesn't matter what position they are. I'm expecting Griffiths to score soon. So it's like, yeah, it's lovely, absolutely lovely. And we're going to tear up this league in a couple of months' time. Our stats are going to be 8s across the board. And by the end of the season, they're going to be 9s. That's how positive I feel about that. But yeah, the players, when we get the ball, he's 18 years old. You would have thought he was about 26. And the way he's actually going into the game and everything, you think he's got years of experience. But he's only 18. What's he going to be like when he's 24, 25? It's going to be unbelievable. He's going to be in one of the top 6 teams in the country. Let alone he could actually go to Real Madrid or Barcelona. You never know. You can tell he's been around some really top professionals growing up, can't you? Absolutely. Just on the goal line technology, Dylan, the legend that is Dylan, I think, if it's the right Dylan, VAR in the Prem grounds in the FA Cup, so it should be in bigger stadiums in League One. And I'm not trying to obviously massively pro for goal line technology, but perhaps at places like Accrington Stanley and Burton Albion, there might not quite be the space, the room, the technology, whatever. So I suppose that might be something to bear in mind on that one. Johnny has said, which is just what we were talking about, first 45 looked like Plymouth just couldn't cope with us. Definitely the best 45 we've had this season. Gaz, how pleased were you with that 45 minutes? And actually, I think Danny said it after the game. In transition, we looked like our brightest we've been in the first 9 games. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's got dark very quickly there, by the way. Say again, sorry. Yeah, it's getting dark. Yeah, I mean, it's like, waiting for the fireworks. It is, yeah. On a Sunday, it's like gunfire, So, yeah, but like someone said on Twitter, there's 3 things guaranteed in life, and that is death, taxes, and a 2-2 draw against Plymouth. They're like, it's almost guaranteed, And yeah, I mean, I look at last year. Look where we started last year. We were on 12 points. At the end of September last year, we were on 12 points. We won 3 games. This year,
we've got a new squad. We've got Danny's squad. We're playing with confidence. We've played already, Peterborough. We've already played, the top half of the teams, and we're doing really well. So for me, this season is there to be, it's us to lose, is what I'm saying,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is absolutely, and also building on it's ours to lose. The fact that Pepe, we only concede goals when we let other teams do it, and that sounds like a really simple thing to say because that's how everyone concedes goals. But you know what I mean? I mean, a mistake against Peterborough, an own goal for Raggett, which invited the pressure on, and then Plymouth built from there. So once that's sorted defensively, the sky's the limit, surely, with 9 games played, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's only really individual mistakes. I don't even think Sean Raggett's was a mistake. Obviously, being caught out there, but you could say it's a mistake, but he's caught in one of those positions, and
he's trying to deal with it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's trying to deal with it. You can see what he's doing. He's just been caught out, but I've seen there's a lot of slack for Sean Raggett for some reason. It's difficult because he's still got those mistakes in him, but he won the Player of the Season last season, which is a bit. You can look at it both ways. You don't drop your Player of the Season 10 games in, but when you get rid of those individual mistakes, there is a really solid back line there. Conor Ogilvie has been probably up there with Marlon Pack with one of the Player of the Season. Michael Morrison, a few eyebrows raised when he came in. How many games can he play? And he's come in and looked almost faultless. Obviously, he had the mistake against Peterborough. That's only been one mistake in 9 games. Defensively, I think it just looks so solid. And obviously, there are a few individual mistakes, but you're not going to be faultless 9 games into the season. There are going to be mistakes. You've just got to try and eradicate them as quickly as possible. And when you can, like you say, Pompey is scoring goals as well. So there's not really a threat from holding out for a 0-0 draw because Pompey are going to score goals.
Absolutely. Stevie's a Plymouth fan. He said Pompey will no doubt be up there this season. Love how both clubs have progressed since the administration days. It's always a great fixture. Absolutely. And that actually is, I don't know how Stevie's done that really well, because that was my next question to you, Sean. A lot of the conversation has since the full-time whistle yesterday has revolved around the what ifs, in terms of what if this had been last season, or what if this had been the season before. And there is no denying that heads would have dropped at 2-1, definitely. And I think 9 times out of 10 we would have lost that game. Myself and you were there for the 1-0 at Home Park last season. How far do you feel like we've come? Hello, and Brendan was also there. Yeah, Brendan was stood right next to me. How have I forgotten that one? Sean was in the other end. That's disgraceful. How far do you feel like we've come? How far do you think we've come from then? And it's a massive credit to the group who, at the moment, with nearly double figures played, look like they can't be beaten.
I think we've come a long way. It's, I said last season we didn't have goals on the side, and Cowley's went out and he's addressed it. It was goals and creativity. And the reason we can play with 4 centre-backs on the back line is because we've got Koroma and because we've got Dale. We've got 2 fantastic attacking players who create so much. And that's the only reason why we're getting away with 4 centre-backs at the minute, because Danny has invested in the team. He's got creative players throughout the pitch. And when Swanson comes back, I mean, don't forget you've got Vincent as well, who's out on loan, and you've got Rafferty. When they'll come back as well, with those overlaps and those exciting players, there's even more threat. So I think there's more to come. And we've come a long way, and it's the goals is the big difference, because last season we couldn't score for toffee. We were really struggling. And now it's really come through. And I think that's credit to Danny and Nikki's recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to speak to Archie in just a moment. We're going to get the view from the opposite side of the Dockyard, as it were. Before we do so, I think Joe Morrell needs a mention on the channel tonight, struggling for fitness as a result of a really unlucky run with injury, despite I think he had an injection during the week and still managed over an hour. Ended up providing the assist as well. And I mentioned in the video yesterday that the substitutions, I think, perhaps stifled us. But I mean, at the same time, there's no denying, is there, that Morrell can't be included because obviously he came on in 40 minutes, but in a 0-0. At the time, it was 0-0. There's no denying that Hackett was definitely part of the switches and ended up scoring the leveller. Let's hear what Joe Morrell had to say to Andy Moon after the game, and I think have a little listen out for a bit of mentality that reflects on the rest of the group as well.
How has that start to the season overall been for you? You said you played bits and pieces. How have you found it?
Yeah, it's obviously been, you want to be playing every game, but I'm not going to be banging on the manager's door when the boys are doing as well as they have, and it doesn't affect me if I'm not playing if the boys are doing well, and I want to be playing for a successful football club, and if we can get it going here, which we showed spells last season, obviously it's been a really good consistent start, and yeah, if I'm on that open top bus at the end of the season, I don't think I'll care if I haven't started the first 6 games, and obviously coming back from injury, that's always the case. So yeah, it's just about waiting your turn and taking chances when they come.
We'll get back to chatting about we'll get back to chatting about Joe Morrell in just a couple of moments. I think someone had the stream on then, didn't they? You're massive fans, or whoever that was in the background. I think it was Pepe because he's smiling. Good evening, Archie. Oh, it wasn't Pepe. There we go. Good evening, Archie. Welcome along, mate. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. Didn't manage to meet up. Let's blame Hampshire Police for that one. Well, let's not blame them. They were keeping us apart for good reason. What was your reflection on the game from the Milton end?
Well, I think we were lucky. I think that's it's probably not what every Plymouth fan thinks, but I think before the game, if you said it's going to be a draw, we'd take that. I think the way that we drew, obviously, it's not good. It's the past 2 meetings at Fratton Park have both ended pretty much the same way. I was comparing the times of the goals and the scores, and it's pretty much dead similar. I mean, we scored one. I think we scored to take it 2-1 last year in the 80th minute as well. And I mean, credit to your defence. You completely nullified us, to be fair, in the second half, first half as well. We looked quite flat going forward most of the game. Obviously, a big miss was Danny Mayer being out due to sickness. That sort of knocked us for 6 a bit, especially when we're going forward against some of your defenders. But no, credit to you guys. I think you outplayed us most of the game, and I said we're pretty lucky to come away with a point in the end.
So you're a lot more sensible than a lot of Plymouth fans that I've heard from in the last 24 hours, Archie. But that's exactly why we chose you, mate. So thanks for. I think we need to give you.
Available.
we need to give you boys an awful lot of credit as well, actually, because you had a mad 15 minutes, incredibly clinical. What was the feeling like in the away end at that point when that first one goes in off the head of Ragger? A bit of revitalised, probably.
Yeah, I think when that first one came in, I think it was almost like a wave of like a spell where we couldn't seem to even if we tried to, couldn't seem to lose the ball. Like I think we were on top for a good probably 10-20 minutes, and in the away end, I think we felt like potentially we could go for another goal. Obviously, we saw what happened at Derby away. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. Obviously, we were 2-0 down at half time, completely turned that around. And I think with our substitutes, I think that was a big plus. Obviously, taking Ryan Hardy off, he had a really poor first half, in my opinion. He wasn't creating anything up top. Bringing Niall Ennis on, and then and obviously partnering him alongside Sam Cosgrove as well. I think that's what sort of pulled us back into the game. Obviously, got us 2 goals ahead. But yeah, I mean, obviously when we saw that second goal as well, I mean, I was face down for about 10 minutes after that because I was under a crowd of people all over me, but it was a really, really good feeling to make it 2-1. But obviously, I think it's a bit of a head loss at the end. Obviously, with Galloway being a bit of an idiot and leaving a fist in there or leaving an elbow in, it's not nice to see. But yeah, I can't really complain with the 2-2.
It wasn't really caught very well on the cameras that moment, was it? But I don't know if it had any material impact on that second one going in for us. You never know, will you? And it is a bit of a concern for the rest of the league, actually, that you played so well in that moment without Danny Mayer. And I think that might have been a result of maybe the first half wasn't quite as good because maybe you felt like that you were losing, or you'd lost a man that's been a massive stalwart for you for a long time, and perhaps trying to get used to that. Do you feel that might have changed the afternoon? I know you mentioned it earlier, but had he been playing, we could be talking about a different story.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we completely changed the formation for the game as well. Obviously, we're under low. We're used to a 3-5-2, which we brought back for the Pompey game. So from the start of the season with Shuey, we've been playing a completely different formation, playing a 5. I don't know exactly. I think it's a 1 strike up top, basically, on his own. And I think we must have had to adapt to your defence. Obviously, you've probably got in my opinion, one of the best defences in the league. So we had to really try and throw everyone at it we can. With Whitaker up top, he's obviously naturally number 10. He's naturally a cam centre mid. So putting him on top was a bit of a risk. But in his past few games, he's probably one of the most criminally underrated players in the league at the moment. He's contributed in all past the 5 games, whether a goal or assist. But yeah, I think without Mayer, we obviously had Azaz, and that was good. But I'm just hoping Mayer's back soon for obviously Ipswich on Sunday. That's a massive game, and we'll obviously need to get 3 points to that, because I think that will determine who goes to the top of the league. So it'll be quite a tasty game. Hopefully Mayer, and obviously sadly we heard that Azaz won't be playing that game. He's probably been our best player this season. He's off with the Irish team. So hopefully Mayer would be the one that we are looking to rely on to fill his boots.
I mean, interested about that Ipswich game actually, because I know they're probably going to lose a couple of internationals as well. Any chance of that one being pushed back to another time, or is it going ahead?
I reckon it will be pushed back. Honestly, I think they've got. I think the third one's been announced today. Third call up for them. We've got 2 away with ours. I don't know if I see it on or not. I know their manager came up midweek last week saying he wants to have it on. He's still keen to have it on. But obviously, if Morsey does get the call up for Egypt as well, then I think it's off. Yeah.
So let's pretend it does go ahead, just for the sake of now, because currently it is. Any learnings you think Stephen Schumacher will take from yesterday, headed into Ipswich at home?
Yeah, I think we'll probably revert back to the one striker, to be honest with you, because it's I know it's a risk, but it's worked at home. We've got the strongest home record in the league. We haven't conceded. I think we've conceded in 1 game since February this year. We've turned over Barnsley, we've turned over Peterborough, turned over Bolton at home, and they're not easy sides to beat on their day as well. And they've got obviously really, really strong squads. And I think we've proven now. I think for the past few seasons we've known to be the underdogs who are just going to bounce up from League Two, get into League One, come back down. But I think we've sort of learned our ground in League One and slowly trying to make a push now. But I mean, for the Ipswich game, I see us hopefully getting a result out of it, but with our home form. But it's just obviously they're a really, really good side at the moment, and it doesn't look like anyone's really gonna put a couple past them. So if we do win, I reckon it'll be by a goal to nil.
But before we get on to the last little bit, I want to talk to you about Archie. Alex has said, fantastic to see so many fellas' faces on the stream this evening. Think we need to wish Tom a massive happy birthday for Wednesday. Thank you very much. Yes, getting old, but there we go. Steve has said, I think the draw in honesty comes down to the manager's tactical know-how. First 70 minutes, I thought we wouldn't get anything from the game. So there you go. Look how things can change. The Young Fan Podcaster said, loving the show, guys, making my weekend. Thank you very much for that. And Sophia said, Argyle always seem a good side to play against, but Pompey definitely up there this season. And I think the fact that 5 out of the last 6 have been to all draws speaks volumes, doesn't it? Archie, my last question for you, with your League One hat on, if possible, take a look at that table on your screen. Obviously, given what you've seen so far, do you expect wholesale changes at the top there, or do you think this is now a bit of a trend for the rest of the season?
I'd like to hope this is how it would end at the end of the season. To be fair, I'd like Ipswich, Pompey, and Argyle to go up. Us three, I think it'd be great. But I see Derby. Unfortunately, I see Derby creeping back up. I know they've had some poor results, obviously recently, and they need to turn something around there. But I think you will go up this season. You know, I know it's not necessarily the right thing to do, being an Argyle fan, probably crediting a Portsmouth team. But I mean, with the Dane Scarlet up top, with the players you've got, I reckon you may even win the league. I don't want to boost your egos too much, but it's probably a bit of a rogue shout, but put a bit of money on that, and I hopefully we'll come up with you.
We like you.
I tell you what, when
we get grilled,
yeah, when we're down at Fratton at Home Park, sorry, we'll definitely do something, unless. I don't know. What is Devon and Cornwall police keep us apart? We never know. We'll be coming out of there's a nice pub actually not opposite the Life Centre, just down the road. Massive queue outside last time we were there, but yeah, that's the one. Brilliant. That's the one. Yeah. So we'll see if they let us come out of that. Archie, I was about to say. Oh, sorry, Sean, go for it.
You said you could always come into the Argyle executive bit if you want.
Of course, yeah. Some of us can't. Some of the punters can't manage that, Sean. That's a
no, I wouldn't want to.
All those prawn pasties. They don't serve prawn sandwiches, they serve prawn pasties.
Seafood salmonella.
Archie, I was about to say we can find you on your YouTube, but it's an Instagram Argyle Army if you want to see your travels up and down the country.
That is it. Thank you very much for having me on today as well. Yeah, really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. We're going to say bye-bye to Archie. We're going to take a look at the table and then look ahead to Ipswich now. Thanks, Archie.
Cheers, Archie.
Oh, there's no music on it again. That's a little bit disappointing, isn't it? Well, there we go. We just looked at it there. We can see Peterborough fallen, almost a fall from grace in the early stages at that moment in time. This is how ourselves and Plymouth lined up as a result of yesterday. Still no biggest loss for Pompey because we're yet to lose a game yet. So that's all good. And then there is, again, another team that are yet to lose a game yet. Ipswich Town currently top the table, and there is very little to separate us at this moment in time. Now, there might be a bit of a sigh of relief from certain gentlemen. He doesn't join us live, but a certain someone has given us his thoughts ahead of the game. And you might recognise him. Let's see what he's got to say.
Hello, people. Welcome to the stream. Well, you've probably been watching the stream for quite a while now, but I hope you're all enjoying it, and I hope you're all well. Tom's very kindly asked myself to come on. Obviously, if you don't know who I am, my name's Alex Griffin. I'm an Ipswich Town fan, and I do YouTube like Tom does. Big game very, very soon. 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks now until Ipswich face Portsmouth at Portman Road. Oh my word, that is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. We've sold nearly 30,000 tickets for the game. I'm pretty sure we're going to sell out that game, and I hear Pompey fans have sold out as well, which is unbelievable support. So fair play to you lot. It's going to be very tight. I'm nervous for it because Portsmouth are in unbelievable form. Both of us are unbeaten as I'm recording this. It could change, obviously, but at the moment we're both unbeaten, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in this game. I'm going to be optimistic. I want to say we're going to win, but I don't know if we will. There's going to be a lot of Ipswich fans there. The fans are going to be roaring the team on for victory. However, do I think we're going to beat Portsmouth? I don't know. I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to say it's going to finish 1-1. I think we'll draw. It's going to be close. But yeah, best of luck to Portsmouth, and play up Pompey. No, up the Ipswich. And yeah, I'm excited to see Tom in a couple of weeks' time.
Cutting edge report in there from Alex Griffin. I'm feeling optimistic, but I don't know, I think was one of the quotes that you can pull out from that. Thank you for him. He was late for work and all sorts, and he took the time to do a quick relay from his car. So massive thank you to Alex for doing that. And very much feeling the same way. Myself, Gaz, Aaron, all looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time, if by any chance he might be watching this back. Pepe, what are you expecting from a really tough trip to Portman Road? It's two teams that we can hardly split at the minute, but hopefully the split will fall our way.
Yeah, we hope so. I think it's obviously going to be the hardest test of the season by about a country mile. It's going to be hard. It's going to be two teams who are almost like they've had pretty much an identical start. I don't know. Each fan base says the same thing. Alex just said they're not optimistic, but he's sort of optimistic. But you could see Pompey winning. I sort of feel I could see Ipswich winning, but obviously Pompey play well. So it's a difficult one. I looked at Ipswich's bench yesterday. They had Ladapo, Harness, Ahadme, obviously, and a couple of other names, and they've got a really strong bench. And you look at their starting 11, they've just got strength in depth, really good strength in depth. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a real good sign of what Pompey are. If they come away with a point, then I'll take a point. I'm in the away end, so I'm buzzing for it. So I'll take a point every day of the week. But I think realistically, Pompey do have to put on a good performance, because if they don't, it can go horribly wrong, because we know Ipswich can punish teams. But then if Ipswich aren't at the race as well, for the first time, we can say Pompey actually punished teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do put in a performance, and a really good performance. But yeah, I know you asked for a score prediction a couple of weeks ago on the spot, but I thought I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw away at Ipswich every day of the week.
Definitely, yeah. Chloe's still here, by the way, Pepe. She hasn't gone anywhere, so she's still with us. Brendan, Mike, Matty's an Ipswich fan. He said he personally thinks a 1-1 draw. It's going to be a tight one, isn't it? And it's going to take a lot for us to run away with it. Aaron's shaking his head. We'll get round to you in a minute, mate. He doesn't think it's going to be a tight one. He thinks it's going to be a walkover. But yourselves, I know you'll be keeping a very close eye on it. Firstly, how important is it that we've got the respite right now? The next 2 weeks are going to be spent, I'm sure, recharging batteries, bit of time away. Obviously, tomorrow will be a day off for many of us across the country, and the boys at the training ground as well, which I'm sure we will get time for tributes. Definitely in the last couple of minutes of the show, we'll get round about Ipswich, and then we'll answer the poll, and then we'll finish on that. But your thoughts initially, Brendan and Mike, ahead of an interesting 2-week preparation period and a really exciting game.
Well, to be fair, I think this postponement with Bolton has definitely come at the right time for us. As you said, we've got 2 weeks now to prepare for probably the biggest game of the season so far. I thought Wednesday was a big game. This is bigger than what Wednesday away was for the opening day. Their strike force is ex-Pompey, and it's Chaplin, Harness, and Ahadme. So the club know these players. I think the one player I'm worried about out of any of those is Connor Chaplin, because he is turned into a different beast this season. He's different class, and I think as long as we got Morrison got his arm around him, I think we'll be fine. I think he'll have him under control. Yeah, I can definitely see Harness getting himself sent off. Seeing that, yeah, I think Ogilvy's going to have him on lockdown. And Harness ain't going to get past Ogilvy. And our mate yesterday, Ogilvy's biggest number one fan, he's going to be really chomping at the bit to have it tomorrow. Yeah, massive game. And I could actually see us winning because Ipswich haven't beat us at Portman Road for many years, if I'm correct in thinking that. It's been a couple of draws recently. We beat them in the FA Cup a couple of years ago. And then, I think they haven't beat us for a long time at Portman Road, and it's going to continue, I think.
Mike, go on, go for it. Don't even need to ask you a question, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah, Alex, next time you see Alex, I don't know if a black eye will last for 2 weeks, but I think for him saying play up Pompey, his mates are going to be after him. Going back to the 2 week break. Obviously, Mr. Lowry sort of limped out a little bit during the game. I don't know if it was a proper injury or whether it was just a tactical break that turned into a substitution. We'll have him to come back, and also Mingy. I'm most probably a bit too early for him, but he's not far. Oh, sorry, Jaden Reed. I meant he might be back in. Will Crackers and Rafferty should be back in. They were in the players' lounge before the game yesterday, so we knew they wouldn't be playing. So having these 2 weeks, yes, but also if we were playing as well as we did yesterday, I don't really want them to stop playing. There's fors and against, obviously, both ways. I think we're in a good place. We need to keep the good place. And if he was talking about what they had on their bench, well, what did we have on our bench? I reckon we had some bloody good quality that didn't actually get on the pitch in the end. So, so worrying about their substitute line, I'm not worried about that. Not when we've got what we've got.
And just before we move on, Tom, sorry, we haven't really mentioned it properly, but what a game Josh Koroma had yesterday. That unbelievable goal and so much pace and control with the ball, driving at defenders. You know how much of a fan I am of Curtis. I think Koroma buried that shot. Curtis wouldn't do that this season, unfortunately. But yeah, what a player Koroma was yesterday.
We'll get on to player ratings in a minute, and I'm aware we have had a bit of a sudden influx of viewers as we hit 7 o'clock as people tune in for what is the normal time on 4-0 Sunday Live. So if the gents are okay with it, we'll give those people a little bit of a chance to enjoy a bit of their 4-0 on a Sunday, as they might have missed the last hour or so of what we've been chatting about. We're if you just joined us, we're talking all about our thoughts ahead of Ipswich, but we'll also have a little think back to what we saw yesterday as well for your benefit. Sean, it's really important that we play this game on our terms. There's going to be a lot of talk about Ipswich. They're top of the league, great start to the season, but it's more important that ourselves are focused and we focus on ourselves, respecting the opposition, of course, but it has to be on our own terms at Portman Road. Take the game to them.
Exactly that. I think the team will be set up to take the game to them. And Mrs. H came in and watched a Pompey game yesterday. And at halftime, she turned to me, and she doesn't often watch a game. In fact, the last time she watched the season was back when Kevin Harper was playing, so quite a while ago. And she turned around to me and goes, "This is like Pompey back in their promotion season." And her favourite player was Kevin Harper. Short, diminutive, a bit like Owendale on the right. And it is like that. And I think going to Ipswich, it will be us dictating, absorbing the pressure at the start, getting the Ipswich crowd on their back, and then unleashing Scarlet. I don't think it's going to be a 1-1. I don't think it's going to be a 1-1. I think it's going to be a 4-3. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Chaplin will score. I think Bishop will score. I think Scarlett will score. I think we've got more goals on our side. There'll be lots of individual mistakes because both teams like to attack. It's like Newcastle of old, and it's going to be fun.
Gaz, you're making the long old trip over as part of a trip that you're doing. I know for other purposes as well, but it's really exciting, and it is the big away trip of the season. Brendan mentioned it there: Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich, Derby. Maybe throw Charlton in there as a big place to go play your football and really look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so far this season, we were at Sheffield Wednesday at the end of last season. Obviously, we lost that one, but to go to Sheffield Wednesday and even Port Vale, this season for myself, the fans have made a difference, and they will shout to the high heavens at Ipswich on that game. I guarantee you it. I'll be there, and and same as 2,000 other fans, and I cannot wait for a 4-0 written all over it.
And always wait for a 0-0.
And I know that your dad said that, you know what I mean, when we were playing at home, yeah. But I am confident, yeah, for this one, 4-0 written all over it. You can cut this as much as you want, yeah. It's 4-0 written all over it.
Right, there we go. Gaz has said it. It's Gaz's turn now, and let's hopefully it comes a lot truer than it was when Dad said it last season. Aaron, I want to play this again. I know we've seen it already, but imagine this. Change the background, make it the Portman Road away end. I'm not being funny. That would be something very, very special if we get one of these at the end of the game. Come on, En.
Oh, yeah, that'd definitely be epic. Definitely be epic, that. But I was more worried about playing the game yesterday than I am worried about playing Ipswich. I'm not worried about playing them at all. Yeah, they've got depth and strength in their squad, but our squad is much better. I think it's stronger. I think we're more passionate. And plus we've got this nice little break now. Hopefully Lowry hasn't actually done his hamstring. That was the reports. So this couple of weeks off and everything, getting rejuvenated, the legginess in all the players. Hopefully we can get our fitness back. But I think we all put in a shift yesterday, but I was more concerned about the game yesterday. I haven't got an issue with Ipswich. I think we're going to do them 3-1.
Well, I'm not going to try and undermine you in any way, shape or form, Aaron, but this is how the two teams compare. We saw it a little bit a while ago on one of the graphics that I brought up. There is very little to separate these two sides, Brendan. It is just, I think, should we come back to you? Are you busy chatting or are you all right?
Who's that?
Yeah, you.
Oh, it's the mum.
Just taking a phone call.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. Is that yeah, tell her to leave. That's it, Brendan. Get her out of there.
She's going. I've sent her away.
She's gone. Lovely.
Sorry,
neither team was lost, as Sean is quite rightly pointing out. Aaron's pointing the wrong way. There we go. Neither team was lost. Both teams were drawn on 3 occasions. Both teams have won on 6 occasions. It's going to be a case of splitting hairs, surely, unless Gaz is right and it's a 4-0. Who knows?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, mate. It's going to be a tough game. Sorry, miles away. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. It's nothing beside that. They've not lost. We've not lost. We've both had the same amount of wins, the same amount of draws.
Yes, goals per match. Goals per match is 2.11. Goals per match were higher, but goals conceded were higher as well. So obviously it evens all out, and that's why there's only the 1 goal difference in the league in the table. So I think we're going to have a great game. I think it'll be absolutely brilliant. Crumbs, iFollow's going to explode. I think. Are we allowed to have iFollow that day?
You got VPN.
All right, okay. So I think it's going to be an amazing game for those that are going there. Really enjoy the atmosphere. Gaz, safe journey to you, mate, and bring that win with you.
For legal reasons, you shouldn't use a VPN, but if you want to, you can. But thanks for that, Mike. Appreciate it. We're speaking about Ipswich. The last little part of the show, I'm going to have a quick look. It gives me an opportunity to have a quick look at the poll and see what the result of that is. But these are your player ratings for Plymouth yesterday. That's how they turned out. There's a lot of oranges on there. We won't dwell on it too much. Archie mentioned earlier on that Hardy had a bit of a shocker. This is how your Pompey team looked that day yesterday. Oddly, the man of the match on this occasion looks like it was probably heading Clark Robertson's way, although Marlon Pack rightfully so. Gaz, you're the guru. I'm going to move you over so that you can give us all your thoughts. But that's not Gaz, is it? Where's Gaz gone? Oh, where's Gaz gone? Oh, he's over there. There he is. Sorry, Pepe. Mistaken identity there. 4-0 edition. Obviously, there's a couple of those that you can kind of not ignore, but take with a pinch of salt. Lowry coming off on the 40th minute to be replaced by Joe Morel, who was 7.3, I believe he was. So that's midfield pairing pretty much spot on. What do you make of that? What are your reflections?
Yeah, obviously, I thought, Robertson was okay, but I thought, Lowry in the middle until he got injured, I thought he was running at midfield. Obviously when Morale come on, it was a bit different for Pack. Morale's coming back from an injury, so it was a bit disjointed in midfield. But Koroma, I thought he was outstanding yesterday for his debut. Bishop 7, that's all right, but I thought, regards to most of the team, I thought 7s across the board. I don't know where they get these stats from. I know, we're all biased and stuff like that, but I know Raggett had 5.5, but look at Ogilvy. He had a goal line clearance, for God's sake. Without him saving that, on the goal line clearance, we would have lost that game. Give him a 6.6. That's a 7 all day long. So yeah. That's where I am.
Pepe, you're a big man on the whole. I know you're partial to a cheeky player ratings. Have you put any together for yesterday, and do they run along the same lines as these?
I've mentioned earlier about Owen Dale. That was the one that sort of sprang to mind the first. 6.4. He seems to be running everywhere. Has been given a 6.4 rating.
Look at his heat map. He's all over the place, And same as Ogilvy. Ogilvy was up and down that line like a Trojan, and he gets a 6.6. I don't. It must be Stevie Wonder who's doing these ratings.
Oh, sorry. That's absolutely. I'm going to bring you. That's so amazing. Aaron, any reflections, mate? What are you thinking?
It's a bit disappointing again. It would be interesting to see what Plymouth's stats were. But they're just on a little bit of the low side. Oh, there you go. Right.
Well, give him a chance to look at it. Sean, what do you make of it?
I think the stats are quite harsh for both teams. I think it was an end-to-end game. The players, it doesn't take into consideration the tactical changes, and I think, to be fair to the Plymouth manager, the second half, the tactical changes he made were amazing. He basically matched us and dominated the midfield. And I think that the first half, it was Pack who was running the game for us. And spreading the ball around. And I think what happened was when they made their changes, they put an extra man in midfield, and that overloaded us. And that is why we then went behind. So I think the stats are a bit harsh. I think we know how Owen Dale covered so much.
Is the same people doing the stats the same people that do VAR? Because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's Stevie Wonder.
Out of interest, what did Morel get?
I think it was a 7.3. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I should point out at this point that this is not the ones that I put together. I don't want this to be a reflection of my feelings. That is literally what is put together based on the statistics. I think quite a lot of it is big chances missed, all that kind of thing. Obviously, for example, the own goal for Raggett brings his rating down quite significantly compared to everyone else, etc., etc. So it's it's take it with a pinch of salt, and it's nothing set in stone.
I'm sorry, I don't know if
go for it.
I was just looking at Matt Butcher. I know he was number 7 for Plymouth. He was linked with Pompey in the summer, but he got 6.4. I didn't really notice him. I don't know if anybody else noticed if he contributed anything. But he was one of the players I thought, was Matt Butcher playing, because obviously he signed for Plymouth and being linked with Pompey, you think, he might have a point to prove or something, but I didn't really notice him at all.
I thought he was nullified. Yeah.
Muemba was. He's a local-born boy. That's why. He's a local-born boy. That's why he was linked with Pompey, and he was a free agent or something like that. Pepe, I think it was. We were thinking of getting him back, but I totally agree. He wasn't even in the game.
I think when you look at Mark Pack's rating and then look at Matt Butcher's, who Pompey come out better with, and you look at Marlon Pack every day of the week. I know Matt Butcher's a local lad and he would have loved to have come back. I think Pompey were looking at him, obviously. That was well reported at the start of the summer, but who's come out better, Marlon Pack or Matt Butcher? And you saw Matt Butcher didn't do anything yesterday, but Marlon Pack instead steps up in big games. So that could be the difference. Going ahead this season, we have got people like Marlon Pack who can step up in big games.
Again, this is for, I think these gentlemen have just joined us here on 4-0 Sunday Live, but a very warm welcome to you. Jeff said, I thought the game changed when Tom Lowry went off. Absolutely. David has said our substitutions on 70 minutes gave momentum to Argyle. Just quickly, before we get onto some tributes to Her Majesty, we're going to reveal the ending of the poll as well, which has had 117 voters on it, by the way. So thank you to everyone for getting involved in that. I'm very excited for the grand total in a minute. But I wanted to mention the substitutions to you guys, because I think there's a bit of it kind of counteracts itself a little bit, because the substitutions, yes, they may have stifled us. And I know I've mentioned that already this evening on 4-0 Sunday Live, and I said it in the video on the way out of Fratton Park. However, two of the substitutions combined for the goal, didn't they? So there's the Joe Morrell puts the ball in, and then Rico Hackett heads it in the last couple of minutes. So although you wouldn't call them inspired substitutions, they did end up working, didn't they?
Yeah, it works both ways, because when Plymouth did their substitutions, I thought they looked stronger for about 5-10 minutes, and obviously they scored. They scored 2 goals in 4 minutes. So they were inspired. They were up for it, and then we had to contain a lot of pressure. For about at least 10-15 minutes. But then Danny saw something on the bench and thought, okay, we'll bring Hackett on, and then the Perm scored. In you go. Do you know what I mean? So that was lovely.
Well, Plymouth did actually change their formation a couple of times as well during the game yesterday. So that actually had an impact as well after 70 minutes. Because I think they played 3-5-2, then 4-3-3, and then a 4-2-2, whatever it was. But they kept on changing. Now I think that's why Danny brought on the players that he brought on as well.
Aaron, that is the most tactical thing I've ever heard you say. That was wonderful. More of that, please. We'll have some more of that. Let's go back to what we mentioned earlier on, the centre-back pairing. I mean, we won't reveal the result yet, but the question was, who is your centre-back pairing? And Morrison and Robertson was the first option. Morrison and Raggett was the second option. And then Robertson and Raggett was the last one. Now, I was wondering whether the result might have a little bit of a spin on what Raggett did yesterday. And I know we've already mentioned it here on 4-0 Sunday Live this evening that, own goals happen to anyone and all he's trying to do is defend the ball and it's just ended up in the wrong place. It was a little bit of a freak own goal. We'll come to Sean on this. Who is your centre-back pairing, sir? And what would you, I don't know if you've seen it yet, so you might have spoiled it for yourself, but what do you reckon the wonderful viewers out there would have thought?
I want to see more of Morrison and Robertson, only because I think they are more solid. And that's not to do Raggett any discredit, because Raggett gets the plaudits for his goals, but he also, because he's in the right place, quite often he can't stop goals like yesterday, and other players wouldn't get into that position. So he gets, probably by me, unfairly criticised more often than not. What I like about Morrison and Robertson is they both play the ball on the ground and they can play it out of defence. That's Raggett's weakness. But what he gives you in headers takes that, as long as the players around him know that he's not good, he's not going to play out from the back. So Morrison Robertson's mine. I haven't seen the poll, so I don't know. But my feeling is, if you're playing the back four we've got at the minute, the 4 centre backs, I kind of like it. It gives Dale and Karoma the freedom to go forward. But I also want to see some overlapping fullbacks as well. So I'm torn.
I'm sure Pepe's already seen the poll, so we're going to come to him next. Aaron, I meant no disrespect for that comment earlier, by the way. I genuinely did like the fact that you'd mentioned a formation. How do you think it's gone? You might have seen it, because I know you leave a comment in the live chat. But your thoughts, I think we'll take the panel's view and then we'll reveal with as well. Sorry, let me try that again.
Well, I do actually agree with what Sean says, but I do actually would prefer Morrison and Raggett. Only because he does. Yeah, you do have. He plays on the floor, and Raggett is all over the place. But he does like to get up top as well, score the goals as well. But you can't disprove what Sean's just said, because that is a wicked pairing as well. But my preference would be Morrison and Raggett.
It's actually a really nice problem to have, isn't it, Pepe? I mean, the fact that we're talking about being able to intertwine between centre-backs and centre-back pairings and to have those 3 cracking options. Who wins it for you?
I think if you look at Ipswich, you have to go with Raggett and Morrison. Sorry, because Morrison and Robertson aren't tested and they're not proven together. So I don't know if they would have obviously trained in training. So you can look at it on that aspect as well. But if you're going in a top of the table clash, you're going to want your players who have played together before and have experience and know how to play each other, so you won't get mistakes. But it's difficult because Morrison and Raggett play better on the right hand side of a back four, at the centre back. Sorry, Raggett is a bit weaker when he plays left centre back. So it'll be more of a fight of Raggett or Morrison, who partners Robertson. But I think going forward to Ipswich, it has to be Morrison and Raggett because they're proven together. But again, that's up in arms and it's a couple of weeks' time. So anything can happen. But yeah, Raggett and Morrison for me, I think.
Graham said, "Where are the fish? Love them." Graham's obviously just joined us. So there's the what did you say, Aaron? The fish are the colour of your wall at the minute, or something like that.
I'm doing treatment at the moment, so just get rid of some like nasty bacteria blooming there at the moment.
Join us next week on 4-0 Sunday Live, Graham, for a fish tank update. There you go. I just want to get to what Harry said before we go to Gaz and Brendan and Mike on the question of the centre-back pair. And he said, I feel the Cowleys need to react quicker. Plymouth changed and we reacted too late. It was the same at Burton, but we got away with it due to their lack of quality. Still love them, just an observation. And I think that I think that name rings a bell, actually, Harry. So I don't want to say it just in case it's wrong, because that's really embarrassing. But that does ring a bell. I think interesting thing was, just to answer that myself, because I never normally answer questions.
Sure, sorry.
I was at, well, absolutely, yeah. Do what I like. Come on, Brendan. I actually thought that the substitutions could have come probably 5-10 minutes earlier than they did. I felt like we were starting to get a little bit slow with the ball. The pressing kind of stopped, and maybe if we made the substitution when we did allow the players to have the time on the pitch to bed in, maybe the own goal doesn't happen or whatever, permutations, etc., etc. So that's what I say to that. But thanks for leaving the comment, Harry. Really appreciate you joining us tonight on 4-0 Sunday Live. We haven't got an awful long left, by the way. So if you haven't yet left your thoughts on what you saw yesterday or what you're anticipating in 2 weeks' time, let us know via the live chat down below. Right, let's answer this poll then. Gaz, what are you going for? I think we already know. You gave us a thumbs up, didn't you?
Yeah, it's definitely a Morrison and Raggett for me. Raggett, I mean, he was unlucky yesterday. I mean, the thing with Raggett, he puts his body on the line for everything, and he does more good.
And his teeth.
Yeah, he does more.
Careful, mate.
He does more good. And the thing is, when he does make a mistake, and we've seen it in the past, it's a big mistake. And that's why normally it's a
costly
goal. It's a costly goal, but it's not all the time. So for me, it's got to be Raggett and Morrison at the back. I know. Robertson, club captain, all that. But at the moment, for me, it's Morrison and Raggett. They seem to be, a really good partnership at the back at the moment. So for me, all day long.
I am delighted. It is Harry from the Fixture Breakfast. I'm so happy about that. Thanks for joining us, Harry. Shouting there for 10 minutes of Burton as well. Yeah, so it's one of those, isn't it? Brendan, Mike, I will. We'll come to you and then we'll reveal the result. Is it Morrison and Robertson, Morrison and Raggett, Robertson and Raggett? What are we thinking?
Well, me and Dad are actually split, actually. We're two different answers, actually. So I'm controversial in our house. Personally, I'd go Raggett and Morrison, same as Gaz and Pepe and Aaron. Just because I think Raggett, people always talk about his mistakes, and it sort of gets blown out of proportion too much. Yes, there's the odd mistake. There's the own goal yesterday. There's a missed pass here, but I think that he does so much more good and beneficial for the team. As Gaz said, he puts his body on the line. He just dived on top of the ball against Peterborough, and he just put his body in the way, and he wins. He's the most aerial effective player in the league. Wins the majority of his headers in the attacking third and in the defending third as well. And Morrison, as you said before, there's controversy signing a 38-year-old, or 30, how old is 38, I believe, and saying, how often is he going to play? And he started nearly every game this season, and he's proven that he is quality. Maybe he was in Reading had a bad year last year, but that's no shade on what he was doing for us. And maybe he kept Reading up at the end of the day, playing for them in his defensive role. And
Mike,
I think
what's the difference with you?
Yeah, I mean it's Robinson and Raggett for me, same as Aaron and Gaz. I mean, Raggett, I mean, he's been through the wars for us, hasn't he, since we've had him? He's a terrific player. He puts everything on the line. But one thing I was a bit disappointed in your poll, perhaps there wasn't enough room, that we could have had a back three selection. So we could have had Robinson on the left, Raggett in the middle, and Morrison out on the right, or switch them two round. If they're worried about a 38-year-old man, he can play in the middle but can't play outside, put Raggett out the back on a three. Or even put Ogilvy back to left back, have Robinson and Morrison in the middle, and Raggett on the right side of defence. So there are options that we can use, and Danny can use. I'm sure he has his reasons. I'm sure why he put Ogilvy there and didn't switch Raggett to the outside or whatever. But yeah, my I know it's not going to come out top, but my vote is for Robertson and Raggett.
Dylan has said Robertson seems to be in two minds with the first goal for them yesterday. Well, to press Mumba or the overloaded centre back, Raggett had to get something on it, otherwise it was tapping for them. And you can actually see him when you watch the highlights back. Dylan's spot on. Yeah. He is going to head it in and nod it in that top right hand corner, isn't he? So spot on with that. So the time has come, everybody, and you boys on the panel, you are influential. You have changed it a number of times since we've been talking about it. The percentages have gone up and down, back and forth. But I can reveal in third place is the partnership of Robertson and Raggett with 20% of the vote. Second place is Morrison and Robertson with 33% of the vote. So taking the top spot is Morrison and Raggett with 47% of the vote. Join us next year on Britain's Got Talent, where we'll have more of the finest acts from across the country. So that's all done now. That's all good. So obviously I know that we're laughing about it. We had a great result, but there was a great result on that result. So who was upset, Aaron?
It all looked a bit upset with that poll result coming through there. I could just see it in his face going, "Oh no, not good." Yeah.
Well, I would say I am a bit, but just watch how many defensive headers Raggett heads to the opposing players. That's all I'll say.
If it's any consolation, Sean, I would have gone with you. So there you go. That's that there.
I'm just glad he gets his head on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the time is shortly approaching 7:30. We will finish on our score predictions for Ipswich. You will also take a look at the fixtures ahead. But what I think is really important to say at this point, and the reason why we are an hour early tonight, and the reason why we're coming up to 8 o'clock, is after the sad passing of Her Majesty, which I'm sure we've all seen a number of tributes. I'm sure you all know. I mentioned it at the start of the Plymouth video yesterday. The Burton video was dedicated to her life, and we had a fantastically observed minute silence and then a rendition of the new national anthem, God Save the King, at Burton. And we also had the same at Fratton Park yesterday, which I'm sure everyone present will be with me in saying that was fantastic as well. Gaz, you served Her Majesty for a number of years. I wonder if you'd like to pay a special tribute here on 4-0 Sunday Live tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I served 23 years, similar to Mike and Sean. We've served the armed forces, and for me, yeah, I know it was coming, but it was a shock, So for me, I look forward to the King coming in, and God bless her soul. Rest in peace.
Brendan and Mike, I know we spoke at Fratton Park yesterday. Mike, for those who might not have seen, I wonder if you wanted to repeat your sentiment from what you said yesterday.
Yeah, well, yesterday was my 40th anniversary of coming back from the Falklands War on board HMS Bristol, and we came back in with HMS Invincible after the war. And as we came in the harbour, the Invincible pulled to one side, and we went round. The Queen, Duke of Edinburgh, and Princess Anne came round to the other side of the ship that she was on, and came over and personally waved to all the crew of HMS Bristol. I take that as a personal thank you from those three. That was a lovely gesture. They didn't have to do it, but it was great. I've seen Her Majesty. I've not spoken to her on a few occasions. I've been at the Albert Hall for the Festival of Remembrance. In total, I think when you put my years together, it's about 46 years of all the various jobs that I've done serving the Queen and country. It is the Queen and it is the country that I've served. She's the head of state. She's been an immense person for our country and for the people to represent us for all that time, especially with her husband by her side who passed away the other year. I'd like to say thank you for your service, ma'am. And I'm sure she might be listening to a lot of people up there. And Yeah, it'll be a sad day tomorrow.
Absolutely, Sean. I'm sure you won't mind me repeating, but you served Her Majesty for a number of years and made a number of tactical decisions on her behalf. I'm sure over the years as well. Is there anything special that you'd like to say at this moment, and any reflections that you've had over the last couple of weeks?
Just echo the sentiment of Gaz and Mike, and just saying that there's something missing going forward. She leaves us an amazing legacy. I think. She served us as much as we've all served her and more. And I just think going forward, we're missing something now. It's like the nation's lost a grandmother almost. And I think tomorrow will be a day of reflection. And for me personally, I'll be reflecting on her life and the loss with the nation. And but then we knew sort of embark for the king now, and life goes on. But tomorrow is her day.
Absolutely, and Pepe, I know we probably can't relate to it in a naval sense, but the reaction on social media that we've seen in the last 10 days just shows what an incredible woman she was, doesn't it?
Yeah, just the whole country sort of near enough come together. I know sport as well have tried to come together as well. I think the main one was the cricket. I think that was a real good. The 10 minutes before the cricket on Saturday, that was a real good sense of how together everybody was, and it's been echoed on social media, and everybody sort of said, and the whole country's sort of been missing someone the last 10 days or so. And like you said, tomorrow will be a really tough day for a lot of people, and a lot of people are obviously going up to London, and I think it'll be a special day and one that we'll all remember very well.
Aaron, you're in London right now. What have you, I don't know, Watford, just outside. What have you seen from the last 10 days? And it's a busy place, I can imagine, right now, and rightfully so.
Yeah, it is a shame. It's an end of an era. To everyone in the UK, it was our Queen. But to the rest of the world, it was the Queen. She was the most famous person in the world, the most photographed person in the world, for reigning for 70 years, working endlessly and working 2 days before her actual death to see a new Prime Minister. It would never, ever be replaced. I know we got a new king and everything, and God save him. But yeah, it's just such a shame. You would always think that she was invincible, the way she was going on, the ways that she conducted herself to other delegates around the world and presidents. Saw 15 prime ministers and 14 presidents, I think, in her time as well. She will be missed. I think the majority of people are getting used to it now, but I think it will sink home when they start changing all the money, the stamps, the passports and everything, because it's His Majesty now. But she will be missed. I was never privileged to actually serve. I didn't. My parents both served in the Royal Navy, and all my family really were in the armed forces in Scotland and Portsmouth, and my granddad was in the Merchant Navy as well. So we've got a lot of history there. I've met a couple of the royals. I met the Queen Mother when she opened up the D-Day Museum in Portsmouth. Princess Eugenie the other year, because she's the patron of the hospital I work in. But going back to the Queen, I wish I'd met her. Never had the privilege, but she's everyone's grandmother, including our Queen. So God rest her.
And as before we come to Brendan to round us off, there's been some tributes coming in from everyone, Graham and Chris and Graham again. Jeff has said, God bless the Queen, aka the boss, which I know it was for many of us on the stream. Robert said, rip our Queen, rest in peace our Queen and our amazing service to the greatest country in the world. And what a woman she was. And Chris has said, beautifully said, and I think I echo that. So thank you, gentlemen, for giving us that. Brendan, we've only ever known the Queen to be an elderly lady, haven't we? And we've always just thought she was just the grandma that was always there, as Sean was saying.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always been that way. You know, the guy saying serving the Queen, even myself being, a kid being in the Beavers, Cubs and Scouts, and then through to Network, and being a leader as well. You say your oath to God and to the Queen, and that always felt that had that connection of the services towards the Queen, and from fundraising and everything to going towards that. But if you listen to my bit on the radio show with Adam Blackmore on Thursday night, I don't know if you guys listened back to it. I did it on the chat. I mentioned that when I was at college training to be a chef, I went to my college lecturer on the first day of year 3, and I said, I want to go on a good work experience this year. I want to go to London. I want to go to the top restaurant, and I want to go somewhere good to give me a good base to start my proper training. And he come back with an application form to work at Buckingham Palace. So, and obviously, lucky enough, I got into it, and I did 2 weeks at the Palace, living in the Royal Mews in the staff accommodation behind all the horse houses and stuff like that, and seeing the Queen's carriage being cleaned one evening. Did several dinner parties that whilst we were staying there. Princess Anne had a party for 75. We had the Queen in for lunch one day, and she had a mixed grill with her guests she was eating with, which was really exciting to see. Another party we had 1,000 or 2,000 diplomats for all across London came to Buckingham Palace for the night, and we did a dinner party. Well, we did a big buffet for them as well. And it was incredible just to think, gosh, I'm here working in the palace and cooking for the royal family is absolutely incredible and a pleasure that I'll never forget. I've still got the forms upstairs and the letter, obviously stamped and franked, royal household. And I remember I went in and saw my old boss at the barber shop in Fareham because he had to write to him for a reference, and he's kept the envelope that's been stamped the royal household. He said, I've got a letter from Downing Street, and now I've got a letter from the palace. So he was made up to bits. He was chuffed to bits, and it's very sad we've lost the Queen now, but it's a new era. Long live the King, and William eventually when he takes over as well, which could be definitely in our lifetime as well. We'll see that, but never forgotten.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for that. I really appreciate it. And that is all we've got time for here on 4-0 Sunday Live this weekend. Thank you for spending some time with us. And what we're going to do is have a quick last look at the run of fixtures for Pompey. Then we'll come back and give you all our score predictions for Ipswich. And then that'll be us done. So let's do that. Anglia for a really tasty looking encounter with Ipswich Town, which we're about to speak about. Aston Villa's Academy visit Fratton for another group stage in the Papa John's paint pot. After that, attention turns to Fleetwood Town. That one, as I'm sure we'll all remember, finished 3-3 last time around at Fratton. We will then be under the lights 5 weeks on Monday at the Valley, which is another really tough away trip. Looking forward to seeing a number of the 4-0 crew there. Following that, a much anticipated inaugural outing. That's an easy one to say for many of us, the Forest Green Rovers. And October is rounded off nicely with a week consisting of 2 home games. Oxford on the final Tuesday of the month, and Shrewsbury Town, Steve Cottrell no less, Shrewsbury Town visit Pompey on the Saturday. Gaz, how are we feeling about Ipswich in 2 weeks' time? What's your score going to be, mate?
4.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Sorry. You've already told us, haven't you? Shouldn't have asked again. Brendan, Mike, how are we feeling?
I'm going for a 3-2 Pompey.
Oh, snap. 3-2 for me as well. I didn't know we didn't talk about it.
Sean?
I said before, 4-3 Pompey.
You did. High scoring. Pepe, I think you said it before as well, didn't you?
I think I'm going to change my 1 draw to. I think I'm going to put 2-1 Pompey. I can see it. It's going to win.
Come on to the 4-0 group, yeah.
Aaron, I think you're going to agree with Gaz, aren't you?
No, 3-1.
You said
it's going to be 3-1, and we're going to get into gear 5, and then there's going to be fist bumps all round.
There's going to be 4 fist bumps.
Rob said 5-2 Pompey. 3-1 Pompey from Chris. Everyone's fist bumping each other. Hans John's enjoyed the stream. Graham's off as well. And what we're going to do is, as everybody fist pumps, we're going to give you one more Nikki fist pump. Let's do that, shall we? Thank you for joining us here on 4-0 Sunday Live. We cannot wait to see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.
They're waiting, Nikki. You want one, yes?